He asked for 10 grand for a party I'm not even excited to go to. Hey Reddit. First time poster, long time lurker. I'm using a throwaway because people involved know my main. Be gentle if I mess up the format, and yeah, I know how this usually sounds. But I really need a gut check on this one. So, I, 31M, live in Seattle, work in IT, and overall, I'm doing fine. Not rolling in cash, but I'm stable. I live alone in a 1-bedroom apartment, no pets, no car, Seattle parking sucks, no major vices. I eat out maybe once a week, I bike to work, I thrift like a pro, and I've been slowly building up a savings buffer since getting serious about money 2 years ago. Right now I've got a little over $22,000 saved. About $8,000 is emergency fund. The rest is earmarked for a down payment, which I've been working toward painfully slowly while still paying down student loans. I still owe about $14,000 in student debt, so not nothing. Point is, I'm not broke, but I'm not exactly in a place where I can throw money around. Enter Danny. Danny, 31M, has been my best friend since college. We were roommates freshman year, bonded over Halo and instant noodles, and we've been in each other's lives ever since. I was the best man at his first wedding. Yeah, this is his second go. That first marriage was a mess, but that's another story. His fiancée now, Amanda, is a total sweetheart. They've been together for 3 years, got engaged a couple months ago. When they told the group, everyone was hyped. Like, real celebration vibes, group chat was going off, memes flying, someone even made a fake RSVP site with, Nate is the officiant and the caterer. It was good fun, until Danny started talking about the wedding plans. Apparently, they're doing a full-on destination wedding in Tulum, Mexico. Not just a ceremony and dinner. We're talking multi-day event. Welcome cocktails, beach yoga, rehearsal dinner, full reception with a live band, fireworks, a post-wedding brunch. He even mentioned renting out an entire boutique hotel for guests. It sounded cool at first, until the math started coming in. Flights, hotels, dress code, days off work. It's easily going to cost me $2,000 just to attend. And I wasn't even asked to be in the wedding party. That stung a little, but whatever. I figured I'd go, show support, and have a good time. Then came the kicker. 2 weeks ago, Danny invited me out for beers. I thought it was just to catch up, chill, maybe talk fantasy football. But halfway through the second round, he goes, "So listen, I need a favor." And I wouldn't ask unless it was serious. Red flags already, right? He tells me he's short on cash for the wedding. Amanda's parents are covering a decent chunk, but they're maxed out. His own parents aren't contributing, long story, family drama. And he says he's tapped out on his own savings because he had to pay off some old credit card debt. So now, he needs help. He asks me, straight up, if I can loan him $10,000. Not gift, loan, for a year, max. He says they want to hire this band Amanda is obsessed with, add a fireworks display, and upgrade the cocktail hour to include custom signature drinks. Says it would mean the world to them, and he'd make it right as soon as possible. I blinked, like, physically had to reset my face. I asked if he was serious. He was. Dead serious. He started talking about how we've been through everything together, how I've always had his back, and how I'm the one person he knew he could ask. I didn't give him an answer. I just said, let me think about it, and we awkwardly changed the topic. The rest of that night is a blur, honestly. My brain was spinning. I mean, $10,000? For a party? Look, I'm not heartless. I get that weddings are important, emotional, once-in-a-lifetime, ideally, events. I get wanting to celebrate love. But, fireworks? Signature cocktails? A live band flown in from LA? It's not like they're cutting corners. They're building a fantasy. And it's not like Danny's broke. He makes less than me, but he's not struggling. He just doesn't save. He leases a new car every 2 years. Eats out constantly. Has the latest tech. I've never once seen him budget or meal prep. So yeah, I'm skeptical. I went home and did the math. If I loan him $10,000, that wipes out almost all my down payment fund. If something happens, job loss, medical emergency, whatever, I'd be relying entirely on my emergency stash. Not to mention, loaning money to friends is risky. What if he can't pay me back? What if it ruins the friendship anyway? I stewed on it for a few days. Talked to my sister, she said hell no, journaled about it like a loser, and finally texted Danny. I told him, as respectfully as I could, that I couldn't do it. That I wasn't comfortable mixing money with friendship. That I had my own financial goals, and that I hoped he understood. I didn't say anything judgmental. I even offered to help him brainstorm cheaper options for entertainment. He didn't respond for a whole day. Then he sent a one-word reply, wow. That was it. Since then, the group chat has been weird. People are still talking, but not to me. I'll say something and get ignored, or get a thumbs up react and nothing else. Danny hasn't messaged me directly at all. Amanda untagged me in a wedding-related story on Instagram. Another guy in the group, Ben, made a joke like, hey, maybe if Nate's feeling generous, we can get matching groomsmen sneakers, even though I'm not even a groomsman. Everyone laughed. I didn't. So now I'm sitting here, trying to figure out, AITA for saying no? I mean, I could have done it. It would have sucked, but it wouldn't have bankrupted me. Maybe I'm being too rigid. Maybe I'm being selfish. But isn't it okay to have boundaries? Isn't it okay to say, hey, I love you, but this isn't my problem? I didn't expect to be punished for it. I didn't expect the cold shoulder. And I definitely didn't expect to feel this guilty. It's been 2 weeks since I told Danny no, and somehow I feel like I'm the one who did something wrong. Since then, I've replayed that night in my head at least a dozen times. Not just the moment I told him I couldn't help, but every moment leading up to it. How he looked when he asked. How hopeful he seemed. How I hesitated just a little too long before answering. And then how he said, wow. Like I had let him down on some core level. At first, I tried not to overthink it. People get weird about money, I told myself. It would pass. He'd cool off. Maybe he was embarrassed. I didn't push it, but instead of cooling off, things started shifting. The group chat got quiet. Not in the nobody's texting kind of way, but in the everyone's talking, just not to me kind of way. I'd send a meme, and instead of the usual 5 to 6 reactions, I'd get 1, maybe 2. People would reference plans I wasn't invited to. Or mention conversations I wasn't a part of. Amanda went radio silent. She didn't block me, but she definitely muted me. I used to see her stories daily, and now nothing. I checked her profile, and yep, still posting, just not visible to me. She used to tag me in random stuff. Memes, funny dog videos, dumb TikToks. That's all gone. Then came poker night. Ben, our mutual friend and social coordinator of sorts, invited the usual crew over. Poker, drinks, frozen pizza. It's been our tradition since college. Even when people moved away, we always came back to Ben's place for nights like these. I didn't want to go. I had a bad feeling, and I hate confrontation. But I also didn't want to be the guy who started dodging. When I showed up, everyone was already there. Danny and Amanda included. The room didn't exactly go quiet when I walked in, but it definitely didn't feel normal. You know that weird static in the air when people are pretending nothing's wrong? Yeah, that. I made small talk. Tried to ask about fantasy football. Made a joke about the pizza. It was polite, cold laughter. I felt like a visiting cousin nobody asked for. We shuffled up and dealt cards. I got a decent hand. For a second, I thought maybe things would be okay. Just one awkward night, and then we'd move on. But about half an hour in, Danny finally spoke up. Loud enough that nobody could ignore it. Hey man, he said. So, you really couldn't help out at all? Dead silence. Even Ben, who's normally the class clown, looked down at his cards. I looked up, caught Danny's eye, and said, I told you, I'm not comfortable loaning that kind of money. Danny leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Right, not comfortable. Got it. But we've been boys since freshman year, and now suddenly you're drawing lines like we're strangers? I shifted in my seat. It's not about you, Danny. It's about what I can and can't do financially. I have my own stuff I'm working toward. But you said you had it, he said, a little sharper now. I do, technically, but that doesn't mean I can just hand it out. That's not how this works. Amanda piped up from the couch. It's not like we're asking you to throw it away. We said we'd pay you back. I turned to her. I'm sure you mean that. But that's not a small favor. That's a huge ask. She scoffed. So you don't trust us? I shook my head. It's not about trust. It's about being responsible. It's about not mixing money with friendships because I've seen that go bad. Hell, we all have. Danny leaned forward. You know what bugs me the most? You didn't even talk to me like a friend. You sent me a text. A text. I swallowed hard. Because I didn't want to put you in a position to argue about it. I thought giving you space would be more respectful. Well, he said, sitting back, you gave me something, all right. Ben cleared his throat, mumbled something about grabbing another beer, and stood up. No one followed. The silence in the room was brutal. I stood up, finished my drink, and looked at Danny. You're allowed to be upset, I said. But don't guilt-trip me like I did something wrong just because I have boundaries. I looked around the room. No one met my eye. I didn't yell. I didn't slam the door. I just walked out, sat in my car in silence for 10 full minutes, replaying it all over again. Hands on the wheel, jaw clenched. It felt like a breakup, not a fight with a friend. The next day, Ben texted, rough night. Sorry, man. Then James, another guy from college who wasn't there, messaged me, heard about poker night. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. I wouldn't have loaned him a dime. That gave me a little peace. But not much. Danny still hasn't reached out. Amanda's gone full ghost. And now the wedding is 6 weeks away. I haven't booked flights. Haven't RSVP'd. Part of me wants to show up and be the bigger person. Part of me wants to ghost the whole thing and walk away. And the worst part? I miss him. I miss the Danny who stayed up until 3 a.m. playing Risk in our dorm. Who helped me through my awful breakup in 2017. Who made me laugh so hard I threw up beer on his carpet. That was my guy. That guy wouldn't have put me in this position. Or maybe he would have. Maybe he always would have, and I just didn't see it. I've spent so long thinking that loyalty means saying yes. That being a good friend means giving until it hurts. But maybe real loyalty is about honesty. About limits. About knowing where you end and someone else begins. I said no because I had to. And now I'm watching a decade-long friendship implode in slow motion. Maybe I should have handled it better. Maybe I should have offered less, like $1,000. Maybe I should have called instead of texting. Maybe 100 little things. But the fact that I'm the one asking, maybe, and they're not asking anything at all, that says something, right? I don't know how this ends. But it's starting to feel like it already has. A week after poker night, I got a save the date card in the mail. The envelope was cream-colored, hand-lettered, thick paper. You know, the kind that feels unnecessarily expensive just to touch. Inside was a trifold invitation to Danny and Amanda's 4-day wedding extravaganza in Tulum. There was a little note at the bottom, in Amanda's handwriting, that said, "We hope you'll reconsider joining us." I didn't know what that meant. Was that her being classy, or was it shade? Up until that point, I'd still been on the fence about going. But seeing that note hit me differently. Like they'd already assumed I wasn't coming. Or didn't want me there, unless I made some kind of peace offering first. I stuck the invite on my fridge with a magnet, stared at it for 5 minutes, and walked away. That same day, Ben texted. Ben, hey, group's getting together this weekend. Just casual drinks. You coming? I hesitated. I hadn't seen most of the group since poker night, and I didn't exactly feel welcomed. But I was tired of being isolated. I figured maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe if I just showed up, things would smooth out. So I went. We met at our usual spot, a dive bar with sticky floors and cheap wings that's been our haunt since we were broke 20-somethings. I got there late, deliberately, so I wouldn't have to do the awkward hi thing. Slid into the booth, ordered a beer, and nodded to everyone. Danny was there. So was Amanda. They both nodded. No smiles. We talked. Or more accurately, everyone else talked, and I contributed cautiously. Ben asked about work. Amanda talked about flowers. James told a story about a terrible Tinder date. It was fine. Not warm, but not ice cold. Then, about halfway through the night, the conversation turned to the wedding. Someone asked about room blocks, and Amanda pulled out her phone to show the Airbnb listings they were recommending. Ben glanced over and said, "So, Nate, you booking your flight yet?" The table went quiet for a beat too long. I said, "Still figuring that out." Amanda didn't look up from her phone, but she said, "The longer you wait, the more expensive it gets." Danny chimed in, "Yeah, we just want to make sure people are in or out." It's been kinda confusing. I said, "Right, I get that. I've just been thinking." Amanda looked up. "About what?" I didn't know how to answer that. About whether I'm still welcome. About whether I want to spend thousands to watch people who won't even speak to me say vows. I just said, about everything. Danny leaned forward on the table. Look, man, this isn't about money anymore. It's about support. You either care about being part of this or you don't. There it was. Ben looked uncomfortable. James scratched his beard. No one said anything. I took a long sip of my drink and said, I have supported you for years. But I'm not going to pretend this is all normal. Amanda raised her eyebrows. What's not normal? You guys froze me out, I said, calmly. Ever since I said no. I've been treated like a stranger. Danny shook his head. You made it weird. You made it transactional. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the irony was insane. You asked for $10,000, Danny. That is transactional, Amanda said. You could have just said no. But you made it about how we're irresponsible. How our choices don't align with your lifestyle. I blinked. I never said that, but it was implied, she said flatly. Danny added, you said no like you were above it. Like we were being ridiculous. I said no because I couldn't afford to lose 10 grand, Danny. That doesn't make me judgmental. It makes me responsible. Ben cleared his throat, trying to lighten the mood. Okay, let's not turn this into a debate. We're just hanging out. But the tone had shifted. The air felt thick. Amanda put her phone down. Danny stared at his drink. No one else spoke. Eventually, someone changed the subject. Sports, I think. But I wasn't listening anymore. I finished my drink and said I had to get up early. Everyone mumbled goodbyes. No hugs. No, see you soon. Just a weird, muffled exit. In the parking lot, Ben caught up with me. He said, for what it's worth, I think this whole thing is stupid. But Danny's been different lately. He's stressed. I nodded. So am I. He looked like he wanted to say more but didn't. When I got home, I looked at that wedding invitation again. Read Amanda's note one more time. We hope you'll reconsider joining us. It sounded more like a test than an invitation. Are you one of us or not? That's what this has started to feel like. A weird loyalty test. Like friendship only counts if it comes with financial buy-in. And I'm failing. I used to think we were a chosen family. That no matter where life took us, careers, marriages, cities, we'd always come back to this core group. That we had each other's backs. Now, I'm not so sure. I haven't RSVP'd yet. Every day that passes, it feels harder to say yes. Not because of the money, but because of the principle. Because of what I've seen in the past month, how quickly people turn, how fragile the bonds really are. I wanted to believe that saying no didn't mean losing everything. But maybe it does. The next time I saw Danny, it wasn't planned. It was a Thursday evening, and I had swung by the grocery store on the way home from work. I wasn't even dressed decently, just a hoodie, joggers, and sneakers. I had a short list. Eggs, oat milk, coffee, frozen dumplings, stuff I could live off for a few days without thinking too hard. My earbuds were in, music low. I was cruising on autopilot. I turned into the cereal aisle, and there he was. Danny, standing next to the granola bars like a character glitching in my personal video game. He was looking at his phone, a box of oatmeal in his other hand, and it took us both a second to register the moment. We locked eyes. That half-second lag where both people are calculating. Can I pretend not to see him? Is it too late to double back? Too late. He nodded first. Hey. I nodded too. Hey. His voice was softer than I remembered. Or maybe I was just hearing it differently. It had been weeks, nearly a month since poker night, since that stiff bar hangout where everything felt off, since I RSVP'd and then heard almost nothing back. He looked tired, not broken, but frayed around the edges. Slightly thinner, wearing an old Mariners hoodie I remember from college. I gestured at his cart. Wedding snack run? He gave a half shrug. Just trying to find something that doesn't cost $30 a box. I laughed, just a little. Yeah, good luck. We stood there for a second too long. The aisle wasn't busy, but people were moving around us. A woman bumped her cart behind mine and I mumbled an apology. Danny glanced toward the freezer section. You got a minute? I nodded. We walked toward the end of the aisle and stopped near a corner freezer full of microwave burritos. It was fluorescent lit and awkward, like some kind of limbo zone for emotionally stalled adults. He leaned on his cart. I didn't expect to see you. Same, I guess. I'm glad I did. I didn't say anything, just waited. I don't want this to be how it ends, he said. Us barely talking. You showing up at the wedding like we're acquaintances. That's not what I pictured. Me neither, I said. He paused, rubbed the back of his neck. I was mad, man. Still kind of am. I felt stupid after you said no. Like I'd made a mistake even asking. You didn't, I said. It was a huge ask, yeah. But it wasn't a crime. You're allowed to ask. He looked at me. But you think I was out of line. I considered it. I think it put me in a position I wasn't ready for. That's all. Silence again. I don't know why it got so weird, he said. I mean, I do. But it's just been off. Amanda's upset too. She thinks you see us differently now. I don't. She thinks you think the whole wedding's a waste of money. I don't, I repeated, firmer. I think it's your choice. I just didn't want to be part of financing it. He looked down, then up. I've helped you out before. I know. When your car got stolen junior year, I fronted you 2 months' rent. I nodded. You did. And when your mom had her surgery, I stayed with you at the hospital for 2 nights. You did. So it just felt like you didn't think any of that mattered. Like we weren't those guys anymore. I took a deep breath. It mattered, I said. It still does. But this wasn't about keeping score. It was about not undoing what I've spent years building for myself. I've clawed my way to a place where I finally feel stable. I couldn't risk that, even for you. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I get it. Or I'm trying to. Me too. We stood there, quiet. Finally he said, so, are you still coming? Yeah, I said, unless you'd rather I didn't. He blinked, like that thought hadn't even occurred to him. No, of course I want you there. Amanda too. She needed time. I needed it too, I said. I was hurt. Still am, a little. He nodded. Same. Then came the longest pause of all. I don't know how long we stood there. Could have been 30 seconds, could have been 3 minutes. But something shifted. Not healed, not solved, just shifted. We didn't hug. We didn't high-five. We just moved on. I bought my groceries. He bought his. We both walked out alone. That night, I got a text from Amanda. Thanks for talking to him. I'm glad you're still coming. I stared at it for a while. Then replied. Glad we talked too. I want things to be okay. She didn't reply. And that was that. In the days after, the group chat came back to life, kind of. I was getting emoji reacts again. Ben tagged me in a post about bad best man speeches. James invited me to a movie night, though Danny wasn't on the invite. But something in me had shifted too. I couldn't unsee what had happened. The silence, the judgment, the unspoken test of loyalty I apparently failed. Even if we all moved forward, some part of the foundation had cracked. A week later, I got the table assignments. I was seated at table 9, with Amanda's second cousin, 2 of her coworkers, and someone named Brianna 1 Foot I didn't recognize. Danny and the rest of our old crew were up front at the head table. Groomsmen, speeches, toasts. I was on the outer ring. It felt intentional. I know I'm probably reading into it too much. I know weddings are logistical nightmares. But still, it hurt. I wasn't expecting to be best man, but I also didn't expect to be banished to the satellite table. Like I'd been invited, but not quite welcomed. I wanted to believe that everything was fine again. That we had patched it up. But when you've spent years feeling like someone's brother and then suddenly you're just a guest? It's hard not to feel that downgrade. I stared at the seating chart email for a long time. Then I closed it and went to bed without responding. That question still buzzes in my head. Who owes who? Does Danny owe me for being there when he cried over his divorce? Do I owe him for sitting in a hospital waiting room for 18 hours while my mom had surgery? Is friendship about what we've done? Or what we're still willing to do? Or is it about knowing when to say no, and trusting that the other person will still see your value even when you do? Because if the friendship only survives when you say yes, is it even friendship? The wedding was 2 weeks ago. It was perfect. I say that without irony. It really was. Every detail, from the arrival gift bags to the perfectly timed sunset ceremony on the beach, felt curated, rehearsed, and impossibly expensive. The chairs were whitewashed bamboo. The napkins were embroidered. The floral arch looked like something out of a celebrity wedding. It wasn't a celebration so much as a production. And I was there. I went. I flew to Tulum. I checked into the recommended hotel, not the one Danny and Amanda had blocked off for the inner circle, and I smiled my way through the itinerary. Welcome drinks, beach yoga, the rehearsal dinner, the ceremony, the reception, the post-wedding brunch. I did all of it. I was polite. I was helpful when asked. I even took photos for people when their phones were out of reach. I danced to the classics, raised my glass when toasts were made, and complimented Amanda on her dress even though I wasn't sure she wanted to talk to me. Everyone acted like things were fine. No cold shoulders, no dirty looks. But no warmth either. I felt like a guest at a party where everyone else had history I wasn't part of, which, ironically, was the exact opposite of the truth. Danny and I barely spoke. I said hello when I arrived at the welcome drinks. He hugged me, stiffly, said, "I'm glad you're here," and then was pulled away by someone asking about the wine. That moment set the tone for the rest of the weekend. We had exactly 2 real conversations. The first was at the rehearsal dinner, where we talked about the hotel staff forgetting to set out name cards, small talk, logistics, surface-level stuff. The second was at the brunch. I sat alone for a few minutes, sipping coffee and eating mango, and Danny slid into the chair across from me. He looked tired, hungover, probably. He said, "Hey." I said, "Hey." We were quiet for a second, then he said, "You good?" I nodded. "Yeah, you?" He shrugged. "We made it." Another pause. "I meant what I said," he added. "I'm glad you came." "I meant it too," I said. "Glad I came." And that was it. He got up, clapped my shoulder once, and went to go talk to someone's uncle. I'm not even mad about it. I don't know if I expected anything more. It felt like the final chapter of something, but not in a dramatic, storming off way. More like when you finish a book and realize the ending didn't tie things up, it just stopped. The flight home was quiet. I sat by the window, watched clouds break up over the gulf, and tried to figure out how I felt. Relieved? Disappointed? Sad? All of the above? In the days since, I've kept to myself. No one's reached out. I haven't reached out either. The group chat is active again, but mostly with memes and planning for a Tahoe trip this winter. I'm not in those plans. I'm still in the chat, technically, but it feels like I'm watching a party through a window, present but not invited. Ben sent me a meme last night. It was about introverts needing a month to recover from social interaction. I sent back a thumbs up. Nothing else. I guess we're okay, but not the same. The weird thing is, I'm not sure what part one miss, the friends, or the idea of the friends. Because when I look back, I realize a lot of that closeness was built on time, not trust. We were around each other so much in college, in our 20s, through chaos and growing pains. It felt like family, but now I wonder how much of that was just proximity. Now that we've all grown up, spread out, built different lives, I see the cracks more clearly. I see where the expectations shifted, where support became conditional, and I keep coming back to that moment, months ago now, when Danny asked me for 10 grand. I remember how casual he made it sound, how he said it was just a loan, how he said, "It's not about the money, it's about the experience." But it was about the money. And the moment I treated it as such, everything changed. That's what still gets to me. Not that he asked, but that my boundary became a betrayal. That saying, "I can't," was heard as, "I won't." And, "I won't," was taken as, "You don't matter." But he did matter. He still kind of does. Just not in the same way. I still have the photo he texted. Me, Danny, Ben, James, Amanda, all standing on the beach at sunset. I look happy, or at least not miserable. It's a good picture. He captioned it, "Glad you were there." I responded, "Me too." No reply after that. Not sure there needs to be. Maybe that's how it ends. No final blow up, no dramatic unfriending, just slow drift. And maybe that's okay. Because here's what I've learned. People don't always leave when they walk away. Sometimes they leave when they start expecting more than you can give. When you become a test they want you to pass. And when you don't, the quiet distance grows. I used to think being a good friend meant saying yes. Now I think maybe it means saying no, and still being loved anyway. And when you say no and the love stops, that's not your failure, that's clarity. So I sit here now, writing this, wondering not, did I mess up? But, did I finally see things clearly? I don't have the neat ending I wanted. I didn't get the tearful hug, the mended bond. The toast that acknowledged what we meant to each other. I got silence, but maybe silence is the answer. So, AITA?